Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha, welcome to Culturize. It is me, Makani. This is a space that we created, just for us to share, learn, and teach culture, whether it's native, whether it's ethnic, whether it's social. If you're one of those like me that want to continue to learn, or you want to kind of learn and you're a little bit you're a little bit shame, or you don't know who to turn to, hopefully my friends that I bring with me to talk story with will give you an idea. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe, the notification bell, and what else we got to do, Luna?
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. I always forget. You got to ask the Kiki. They know what's going on. And do that. If you're listening on our audio portion on podcast, mahalo, tell your friends about it. If you're watching on TV, don't forget we do have an extended version on YouTube and on our social media platforms. Before we introduce, I'm humbled and privileged for her to be here, but before we introduce her, of course, we are a cultured show, and we have to continue to teach these opio. So, Lono, ke ololo.
O ka malama o ni I hau amali e. Amali e ua pai ka inu maila. Ke inu maila ka hala o na wei ke kai. O na wei ka hala o puna e ka wahine o ka lua no I kila wea.
Mahalo nui e pe. Mahalo.
Check him out on his YouTube channel, Kanaka Kid. If you ever want to, as he says, to find out what it's like to be a Kanaka kid in today's society, learn Hawaiian words, olelo no iau, and what it's like to get yelled at for homework.
Ola, makai.
So if you're joining us, mahalo for being here. I'm humbled and privileged. I know you're pa'ahana. You've been really busy. I tried to get you on another episode because we're here to talk a little bit about ʻAha Wahine, Mehana Hind. How are you?
Yeah, aloha, makai.
You have been extremely, like, you are hard to get. Come on! I need you here. I need you here. First of all, would you like some ava? This is flavored ava now.
Sure, let's try it.
We've got coconut banana.
Oh, okay.
And we've got kava colada. Or we have traditional if you want.
No, hoi. I'll try anything. Okay. Yeah, try anything once.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got to thank our good friends from Kapa Kava. And, we're just trying to be modern day natives. And those of you that ask and comment about ava from a Hawaiian perspective, as you know, I was taught that Hawaiians, we never really drank ava for recreational purposes like our cousins in the South Pacific, but ceremony and medicine, right?
Oh,
little bit momona and a little bit sweet.
Oh yeah.
But also I say a little bit dangerous.
Yeah. Come from behind and catch you.
Just grab you from the throat. As we continue on, of course, local protocol. What high school you went?
Yeah, that's an important question.
Right.
I graduated from Moanalua High School.
Nice.
I'm from Palolo Valley, and so all my ohana went to Kaimuki, but we went ne'e I Alia Manu, and I graduated from Moanalua.
Wow. So you would travel from the valley too?
Actually, no. So our family moved to Aliamanu, but it was funny because I would actually travel back. So I would go to, we lived in Aliamanu. I would go to school in the morning. After school, I would catch the bus, catch the number 13, then the number 9, the number 9 bus up to the valley, go play sports, hang out with my friends. So much so that everybody thought I still lived there. And then catch the last bus out of the valley at around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Catch the bus, go back to Salt Lake. Yeah,
the independence already.
Yeah, from 3rd grade I was doing that.
Really?
Back in the day, Back in the day, and my father was a bus driver, so he always had.
Nobody was going to hana you.
Yeah, no, yeah, not at all. They could try if they wanted to. But,
what was that like? So you live in the valley, but you're going to Moanalua. Was it? Yeah. Was there a difference? Because sometimes we always talk about cultural differences within Ahupua'a, within Ili. What are the things that were different for you?
For me is when I went to school in Moanalua, never had too much people look like me. Kamiki, where my whole family was. I came from Palolo, from the housing, all that. All look like me, sound like me. We get names that are similar. When I went to Moanalua, of course, I was Nicole. My first name is Nicole. And nobody really knew me as Mehana, there. But everybody was like Mehana, and that's where my cultural roots are,
So this is a really I call it the word I use is crazy, but the theme this season has been inoa. I don't know, it just happened organically. Everybody from the first episode, oh, this is my poʻe haole name, right? And it's weird because it's like every guest we've talked about it. So I know what I want to kukakua with you about, but because you brought up Nicole, I want to, so you carried that. Did your grandparents call you, or your friends call you that? Who called you Mehana?
Family called me Mehana. All my family called me Mehanaokala. I didn't even know my name was Nicole until I went to school, right?
Hold that thought. We're sitting with Mehana Hind, and if you've been following along these episodes for this season, it's kind of organically coming into the mana of inoa, right? And we want to get into that with her. So if you're joining us, this is Culturized. Comment down below if you have any questions about anything. We're eventually going to get into ʻAha Wahine and the power and the culture of women in Hawaii. So stay with us. This is Culturized.
Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser Digital Full Access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code ʻAhaiThing. For all your money needs, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is here for you. Visit hificu.com.
Hey, welcome back to Culturized. It is me, Makani. I am sitting with, humbled and privileged to sit with Mehana Hind, and who I just learned sometimes was referred to as Nicole. And if you've been following along this season, the mana of inoa is crazy. And I kind of see it as, and we're going to kind of jump around, but I want to ask you this question, and I usually ask people. We're talking about, okay, there's the name of Nicole, and there's Mehanaokala. What is the kuleana like to carry that? Because you were just talking about your other ohana or hoahanau and names. Explain what you were saying.
You know, so I have cousins who have like chiefly names, right? And my grandmother, my mother's mother, named my cousins like after Ka'ahumanu. Wow. Right? Kalele ona lani, right? My mother's middle name is Ka'iulani, right? So you have all these chiefly names, and then I have Mehanaokala, and I'm like, wow, okay. I felt kind of like less than, right? I was like, I never even knew anybody with the name Mehana at that time when I was growing up in the 70s, right? So I was like the only one, and I felt odd, right? Not until later, when I realized Mehanaokala means the warmth of the sun, right? When I understood that, I started to really become that, right? So everything that I did, right, became the Mehanaokala. When somebody repeats over and over, Mehanaokala, Mehanaokala, Mehana, that's like when somebody actually says the opposite and calls you, hey, you dumb, hey, you stupid, hey, you... Same effect, right? So the negative effect that people get when they repeat things over and over. Now, imagine a positive effect I had when people kept calling me Mehana. In other words, be warm. Have a warm personality, have, aloha that radiates, be the sunlight for people.
When you realize that, and was it like a moi uhane, you just like realize it, or is a process of, okay, what the warmth of the sun, but as you said, it's not just kala, it's warmth of everything.
Right.
Did you think it was, because I think it's strange when my friends have ali'i names, I think, bro, that's heavy.
Heavy, right?
That's heavy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, thank you for saying, because I always think what's a little bit heavier than that is being given a name that you have to figure out. Right? Because if you're a ka'iulani,
right.
I know how she is.
Right. I know what I'm supposed to emulate, right? Yeah.
So as you emulated this, Mehanaokala, here's another question that I'd like to ask. We know growing up, we're Hawaiian. We see that. We're told that. What's one of the first things that you pili'd to or you realized you were Kanaka? Like, was it music? Was it oli? Was it hula? What was one of the first things for you? Anything that may have...
It was hula. It was hula, definitely. My mother's a hula dancer.
Right.
I grew up around my Kumu's Leinaʻala Kalama Heine. My godfathers are Robin and Roland Casamaro, along with some other musicians, Sam Cole, Kikua Fernandez, and Uncle Ennis, who I have 5 godfathers that were all involved in Hawaiian music. And then my mother was a hula dancer, and surrounded by her, Auntie Vicky Holt Takamine was my mom's like ride or die back in the day. They used to run around Waikiki together. So hula was definitely that thing.
Do you remember your first hula?
I do, and I was horrible. You know why? I hated hula as a child.
Thank you for that, because I want to get onto that topic too. But what was your first hula you remember?
So it was oh my God, I'm spazzing out right now.
See, I'm like that.
But it was like the step on the gas going my way.
Holo ka'a. Really?
And we had to dance it for my grandmother's 60th birthday, and I was screaming on the side. I was crying. I didn't want to do it. All my cousins was on stage doing it. My mother told her, and everybody was horrified, so embarrassed, right? I was just horrible at it. But
how old were you at the time?
I was maybe 4 or 5.
That's funny.
You know, so small. And I remember being that crybaby on the side and just hating hula.
I would have never thought.
Right.
Like, right. You think, you look at you and you're already synonymous with hula, right? And I hated it.
Right.
Because how long did it take for you to like, okay, because I always think there's a difference. Okay, this is hula's my kuleana. That's going to pili to because that's my mo'oku auau. How long did it take you to like it? Because it's a difference, right? Kuleana is kuleana, and liking it is a different thing.
And so I didn't really understand like kuleana to practice until I actually got hapai, right? And then when you get hapai, then you realize, oh my God, I gotta change my life, right? But when I was young, I was into volleyball. And so I was an athlete. I had thick thighs. I was chubby. I was built like a volleyball player. All my cousins, my mom, my auntie, they were all like slender, beautiful, long hair. I had to cut hair because, one time you get ukus, and that's it. They chop your hair, right? So I had short hair. I was like tomboy.
Okay, I want you to hold that thought as well. We're going to continue on talking about how do you become an athlete and a hula dancer at the same time. We're with Mehana Hind right here in Culturized.
Ashley is America's #1 furniture store. We have everything you need for your home. Let the experts at King Windward help you out of your current loan or lease and into a new vehicle. Visit kingwindwardnissan.com.
Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome back to Culturized. See how things are happening, and I got to tell you, I always have this schedule in my mind of things I want to kuka about, and things are happening organically because I love this. Now the show becomes about me. I'm just going to talk questions about. I want to know, and we're talking about an athlete. You're an athlete, but we have to be a hula dancer, and at that time, you're not in the same generation. There's a certain look that you had to have, right? What was that like? Because that's hula. You've become a beautiful hula dancer, and then you look at your cousins like, right. My cousins who are all skinny and again long hair, just stunning on the stage. And here's this chubby, tomboyish, girl. One good thing that happened between the transition between volleyball and hula was they both result in thick thighs. Yes, and I gotta say, you look at volleyball today, even on the collegiate level, Hawaii girls love them.
And we get the best hands in volleyball.
Setters, yeah.
And I was a setter.
I'm gonna you have to, and you correct me maybe agree with me, but I think that has to do with hula.
No, it does. Totally.
Yeah,
the finesse,
right?
And the placement, and we take directions, and the placement of our hands, our body form. Hula dancers are very conscious of their form. Athletes also have to have that kind of consciousness about their body.
I always say it. Any athlete, you must join a halal.
Yeah,
you got to do that.
I agree.
So we're talking about these mindsets, right? As an athlete, as a hula dancer, as a Native Hawaiian, and all these titles that you hold. It could be a weird question. When did you realize the power of being Wahine?
So when I got hapai with my son, and realized, whoa, I know nothing about my culture.
Really?
That wasn't necessarily true.
Right.
I had known stuff, but you feel like, what do I have to offer him? right? I went into hyper mode.
Wow.
I went into hyper speed. I was, in college at that time. Olelo Hawaii became important. This was the mid 90s, so 93 had happened, right? So I was like riding that wave. 93, 100 years of the, the overthrow. I get Hapai in 94, like the end of 94, I give birth, and then all of a sudden a whole new world. So it was that moment. Then hula and my kumu and the movement, the political movement, Ilio Ula Kalani, which was Kumu Hula's most led by women Kumu Hula, who became hyperactive in the political field, and hula people. We learned our mo'okua hau. That was our first assignment. Wow. When I had to recite my mo'okua hau, and I learned all the names, I went back 17 generations, right? We can go back further, but I memorized 17. That's when I knew the mana of the Wahine's presence within our ohanas and within society we have to harness that.
A lot of mana wahine in your mo'oku auhau.
Oh yeah.
Just that's so you realize that, and this is a funny thing too. There's not a lot of other societies, or even native cultures that understand how high in we're a matriarchal society. Some people have a hard time with that. Right. And I hate to say it, sometimes the modern man, the modern kane, we have a hard time with that. As I always like to say, it's not until we realize that we're stupid that we know that. And I'm not speaking for all kane, but I'm just saying it took me a while to realize that term wahine is for a purpose.
And I'm a single mother of a boy. Right? So I only have a son. I don't have a wahine. So I only have a son. So my view of women and men and balance between the kane and the wahine, I'm by no means a feminist. Right? So that's one thing that we got to get out of the way. That being a mana wahine or having mana as a wahine doesn't mean that you emasculate men. Yeah. Right? Because I wouldn't do that to my son.
Because exactly my mom, raising 4 boys by herself, and it was like, and it was funny because we used to say like, my mom is nowhere near wahine. She was like all cool every day, cool, cool. Like ma, more hina, less cool.
Yeah, right.
If you're joining us, this is Culturized. We're sitting with Mehana Hind, and we're talking to the power of wahine, mana wahine, and really getting into. We hear that term a lot, and like she just said, it's not the fact that you're demasculinating men; it's that we're a matriarchal society. You want to know more about it? Right here in Culturized.
Culturized, brought to you by Beachside Roofing, the leaders. Elevate your home's exterior to a whole nother level with Windows Hawaii low maintenance, energy efficient select siding. Call 808-671-0808 today. Ridgel Kent Insurance, protecting your legacy.
Hey, welcome back to Culturized. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're on YouTube, hit the notification button, the subscription button. I'm loving this conversation because as a kane, and so here's our other connection is that I am working with ʻAha Kane, but I really, and it's funny because I'm bringing ʻAha Wahine on first, right? Because again, we're a matriarchal society. A lot of people, and I like that you talked about. It's not that you're feminist. It's not that we're because you're being a manawi, you're not downing anybody.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in ʻAha Wahine?
So there originally was a small ʻAha Wahine that was done. Manukau Iama had done like a conference and invited women early on at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And then a few years later, people like women were just like, we got to gather. So ʻAha Kane started in 2006.
Right, I remember that.
And they had their convention. As soon as they had that convention, the women were like, okay, come on. When are we going to do ours, right? Come on, we're way more organized, we have way more capacity to do this. Why are we not doing this, right? And a lot of us actually helped ʻAha Kane in that first convention. We were there, we were doing registration, we were doing all kinds of stuff with them.
I had to laugh, I had to laugh at it because it's like we have this ʻAha Kane convention that's going on. And if you stop and you look around, You're like, you know who organized this. You guys just show up, you guys.
Right.
That's what I love about it. So you guys created yours. If you can explain the concept to those that they hear Mana Wahine, they hear ʻAha Wahine, the role, I know it'd be hard to explain, but the role of a female, a Wahine in Kanaka society.
Right. So ʻAha Wahine, so after our Kana did their convention, right, it was like, okay, we got to organize better and we need to open this up to the Lāhui because there's such a demand. Women want to, from all generations, multi-generations, want to convene. They want to be able to talk freely about the mana of Wahine, about all the different things that are affecting us at this time, right? So in Hawaiian society, right, besides, of course, doing the incredible, awesome job of birthing, right? We literally birth the nation, right? Like that's our role, is to like birth the nation, also feed it, clothe it, place around the ohana a sense of foundation, and values, but in concert with Kane, right? That's what I love. I do the practice of Ho'oponopono, and one of the things you learn is that there's not this. We do have hierarchies, but when it really comes down to the ohana, is more of this synergy that happens, right? And female energy, along with male energy, is needed. You need the both of it, right?
I like that.
And that, to me, recognizing that is the mana of us as Wahine, is recognizing the pono, or the balance that's necessary, right? Usually the Wahine is much better at being able to navigate those complexities.
It's funny because I used to always say, my grandfather used to always say that too. He goes, once you realize that we don't know everything and you got to rely on them, that's you're gonna know it. As we get into more the power of Wahine, I thank you for that though, because a lot of people don't realize that the balance. One thing I learned, when I was training and learning protocol, I was always taught that the Kanes has to prepare the space, but not true, because one day I was watching the ʻAha Wahine conference and they talked about Wahine prepare the space, and I was just like kind of blown away. It's like, oh, okay,
right.
that's the point of it. And like you said, I realized there's that balance of it.
Right. You had these roles, right? The men, like if you go back, right, on the luakini, like on the heiau and stuff like that, and then you would have to have the women come in before the ceremony, or like this really high level ceremonies like the ʻaha. It was the women that came in after and said if it was good or not. Right, like, and that's putting it very simplistically. Yeah, but you needed that eye.
Yes.
That eye from the Wahine to say, yeah, the ceremony all you men were really putting a lot of energy into. It was good, or it was not good.
If you're joining us, we're talking about the role of Wahine, the role of men, the balance right here in Culturized. If you're joining us, we got an extended version coming up. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. This is all about me now. You can just eavesdrop. This is Culturized. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome to Culturized, the extended version. So this is the part where we get to talk about you. No, just kidding. We're creating space. This is a space where we can come and learn and share and talk culture, whether it's native, whether it's ethnic, whether it's social. Today we're sitting with Mehana Hind. We just got some time. If you were watching us on TV and you want to see more, right here on YouTube. But we're talking about the role of women, and we have this conference, ʻAha Wahine. There's ʻAha Kane. There's ʻAha Opio. ʻAha Mahu. Who else do we have? And then ʻAha Ohana is the whole. Yeah. And you're involved with ʻAha Wahine. I'm involved with ʻAha Kane. But of course, I am always, and it's funny because we're talking about emasculating, right? But I realize that there has to be this balance. But for me personally, I'm going to give a little bit more balance to the Wahine because I it's almost like I want to say I know my role. In Kawakahiko so I understand there's halimua for Kane, right? What was it for Wahine? Was there a place that they can go or who did they see as opio, little girls? Was there a place?
Not until the time where they were to have their Waimakalehua, right? So the ceremonies around Waimakalehua or the menstruation,
Right.
that period of happening, right now they go into and start the monthly kind of ritualized practice of going to the halepe'a, right? But different from the halemua, which was like a daily thing. The women would come around or gather around their practice, right? So if it was kapa making, if it was lauhala, if it was other things, they'd gather and work around there, or be in the hale noa, right? Be in the space that was meant for the family.
When and times like that, when those things were happening, when women's Waimakalehua or girls' Waimakalehua would happen, was most of, from your manao, is it more kilo skills, or there was somebody that said, this is what's going to happen, this is like specifically what we're going to do? Or like how we grew up, my grandfather said, just shut up and watch.
Right. No, there was, our practices, in order to pass down from one generation to the next generation, right? There's a lot of ritual involved, right? Because that then, when you don't have like paper and pen to write it down, right? You have to start to repetition and ritualize it, right? And so the prayers become ritualized, right? The motions become ritualized. The actions all become kind of ritualized, right? In order to keep that in the family, that knowledge base within the family, yeah. So those things were, and yes, there was some oversight, right?
Okay.
There was oversight watching young people for almost everything, right? For what skill they would do, what trade they would be good at, who they would be sent to, the master that they would be sent to, and then who would they mate with, right? And when that should happen, all of that should happen.
It always amazes me that we were such forward thinkers, like you just said, all the way up to who we're going to mate with, who we're going to be with. Are there practices in your adult life with your ohana, with your sons that you take from when you were opio and your parents? Of course we have local practices, and then are there things that you still do today as an adult?
Strangely, not so much. My parents are both, they worked a lot, at night. I think one of the things that when I grew up was actually from my grandmother. And that was, I don't know where my grandmother found it, but we lived in Palolo, right? Right outside the housing. But we had poi on our table every night.
I love that.
We had poi on our table every night. And when I was a kid, I hated it. See, I was so odd, right? You look at me now and you go like, what? You hated poi?
I'm so glad you're saying this, because I didn't like poi until I was maybe probably out of high school.
Right. Me too. When I understood haloa, that's when I just fully embraced poi. But I didn't like it as a child. You know why? Because we had to eat it every day. Not because it tasted bad or anything. It's just because we had to eat it every day. So my grandma always had a poi bowl, which was one Tupperware bowl.
Yes.
A Tupperware bowl on the table, regular, cover them up with the Tupperware.
And they would wait for that layer of white.
So thankfully, my grandmother them did eat that layer of white, so that we could eat the fresh poi, and then they would wait and have all that fermentation, that beautiful fermentation that we all now know is good for our guts, right? And I was just like, oh my God, so smart. And I was grossing out if I'd learned that earlier. But that tradition now, so that skipped my mom and dad, right? That kind of skipped that generation. But I remember that, and so now my love for poi and for ai, like pa'iai and all that, that's what I kind of then transferred, to my son. And we get debates because actually I'm a kalopa'a. I love kalopa'a. I can eat kalopa'a like popcorn. I'd rather sit there and eat kalopa'a and limu kohu and watch a movie.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Then popcorn, right? But my son is like full on team poi, right? He's team poi, I'm team kalopa'a. And we have these debates, and just to even be in this day and time and have that kind arguments, right? You know, with each other, like, no, kalapa is better than is a good thing.
I love that.
Thing.
Even the fact that you just said that the part of the reason why you started to like poi was because of the story behind it. Right. Who else likes food because of the story of food, right? And I, of course, I'm biased. I think we were such great people that everything that we put into our body there was a story. It was our ohana.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I remember talking to Dr. Shintani when they were talking about when he was studying the Hawaiian diet pre Kamehameha. They were eating like 7 to 8 pounds of poi a day.
Right.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Right. Right. We cannot imagine. Yeah.
Oh, I eat one bag. I'm like, piha. I don't even know what to do. So these practices, I love that. These practices that you carried over, and having conversations. If you could encourage even mothers, even moms, and other wahine. Sometimes we have wahine today that want to learn. They want to, and they see wahine like you that are powerful and they're progressive and they're moving forward, and they don't know really what to do, Kanaka or not. What would you tell them?
You know, this is my advice usually to everybody: is join a halal.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like join a halal, because halals are communities unto themselves, right? And with a kumu who can guide you through the steps, and then from there you can jump off. People in halal nowadays, right, more so than the kumus, they become like now in halal hula we have la'aula pa'au people, we have lomi people, we have that, right? But the halal hula is accessible. Right, get one halal hula everywhere you go. We are the largest Hawaiian cultural practice in the world. And I say next
crazy?
To surfing, but they don't even know they're a Hawaiian practice. So that's why they don't count sometimes.
I always say we need to reclaim that somehow.
Right. Well, like thank you to Carissa Moore and the Olympics.
Like I remember when I was on a conversation with Carissa. I said, Carissa, you should open a halal.
Yeah,
right? Just teach surfing, right? Because that thing, and even for me,
and I'll come in and teach the mele for it.
See?
Yeah.
And that's, even with me, it's like I didn't know I would be doing all these practices, but a lot of Namea Hawaii that I learned was through halal, with halal no pua kukui. If it wasn't for Kumu and Kalia, it's like, I wouldn't know half of the things, and what it helped was the things I learned when I was young, halal made sense. Right. And so there you go. From the words of Mehana, join a halal. Even, and I know Kumu may not like this. You don't have to join just for hula. Because like you just said, it's going to be a springboard to everything else.
Right.
So mahalo for joining us. Thank you for taking time, sharing your mana'o and ike on wahine, the power of wahine. If you want to learn more about it, comment down below. Or I should know this. When is our conference? Lāhui Ea. About that time, right?
Lāhui definitely check out that. And I think more information will be coming out soon.
Okay, watch us here.
Go to the Facebook page too. For
ʻahavahine.org or .com?
.org.
Halal, we should know these things.
No,
.org.
Yeah. And then
.org.
The Facebook page too.
Okay, so follow them on social media. Any wahine, even kane. Highly encourage. If that's what we do, we got to understand our wahine. That's the only way to do it. Who you going to talk to, wahine?
Right.
So mahalo for being here. Thanks a lot for joining us, Culturizing. I thank Kapa Kava. We got to thank all of our guests for being here, season 5. Mahalo.
Hui ho kako.